All right. Jesus Rivera?
Yes, Judge, can you come up?
Yes.
Elizabeth Settle, SCPTL. You're welcome.
All right, so he has warrants. I don't know what those warrants are for.
Well, there was a violation report for not having the ignition interlock on his vehicle.
Okay.
I think that's the only one that I'm aware of, Judge. Is there more than that?
All right, who were you conferring with?
Oh. Can you give me a few minutes to see?
Sure. All right, if you'll step back. Sure. All right, who's the prosecutor on Jesus Rivera?
Mr. Edelman. And
All right, and if you'll come down.
This lady don't be playing with people.
All right, and counsel's behind the court reporter. We're gonna go on the record, so if you'll ask the deputy, we'll move you towards that end. All right, court is calling night mag number 754053, 754054, State of Texas versus Jesus Rivera. Could our parties announce for the record for the state? Defense?
Elizabeth Settle.
And are you Mr. Rivera?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
All right, defense in each of these cause numbers. Off the record. Mr. Featherston, we're on the record. Y'all need to move it towards the end. Thank you. All right, we're back on the record. And each of these cause numbers, your attorney has filed a motion to reinstate bond. With regards to the reinstatement of the bond, was he on a PR bond or no?
No, he was on a commercial.
All right, so one, before I can even consider reinstating his bond, the question becomes whether or not the bondsman wants the bond reinstated. Because I have no authority to force the bondsman to be back on your bond.
Correct. And he has been paying regularly, Judge, if you want me to step out and talk to them about it.
Yes, if you'll call the bondsman and see if the bondsman wants to have the bond reinstated. And then I can make an informed decision on whether or not I will reinstate his bond.
Sorry for the another
No,
delay.
it happened.
Okay.
That's okay. All right, and did you get a chance to speak with the bondsman?
I did, it's AA Best, and she said that they will stay on his bond, but he's got a balance of $455 that he's got to pay immediately.
All right. All right, and are you Mr. Rivera?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
And each of your cause numbers, your attorney has filed a motion to reinstate bond and to have installed the PAM device in lieu of ignition interlock. State, have you had a chance to review defense's motion to reinstate bond?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, State, do you have any objections to the reinstatement of the bond?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, then defense, do you have any witnesses?
Just my client, Judge.
All right, could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am, all the truth.
All right, you can lower your hand. Make sure
Yes, ma'am.
that you wait until the question is finished before you answer. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, state your name for the record.
My name is Jesus Rivera.
All right, defense, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Rivera, you were on bond for both of these cases that we're here for, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And your bondsman is AA Best.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you understand that the judge put conditions, pretrial conditions on your bond as a condition of you being on bond that you needed to follow.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you aware that one of those conditions was to have the ignition interlock on your vehicle?
Yes, ma'am, I didn't know that.
All right, so here's the thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm assuming that you want me to hear what you're saying.
Yes, ma'am.
In order for me to hear what you're saying, you're going to need to speak up because
ma'am.
right now I'm catching every other word that you're saying.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you may continue.
You were aware of that condition?
Yes, ma'am.
And yet you did not have the ignition interlock installed?
No, ma'am.
And why is that?
I don't have no vehicle.
Okay,
I take the bus to work.
did you discuss the fact that you have no vehicle with your
Yes, I talked to
pretrial officer?
Fabian Ortiz.
Okay, and what was the response?
I told him, and he just told me that I have to get a vehicle to try to install it.
See, one thing I can say about this judge, She listens very carefully and she's very thorough. So if you just talking out the side of your neck to her, she gonna do the investigation. She gonna go all the way to the bottom of the bottom and scrape everything she can see to see if you been lying to her. So if he say that his bail's bondsman or is who they are, or his probation officer say you gotta follow these stipulations and you gotta get a car even though you don't have a car, just to put something in your car for you to drive, she gonna literally go through all of that and try to find exactly what you've been lying on. And if you lying, then shit, she gonna you frying.
Did he give you any other options?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Have you driven at all since you've been on bond for
No,
this
ma'am.
case? Do you have any minor children?
I got 4 children. Oldest 12 years old, 8, a boy, and a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Do any of them live with you?
No, except for the one 8-year-old.
The 8-year-old lives with you.
Yes.
Are you a single father?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you work to provide support for
ma'am.
your family?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And are you asking the judge to reinstate your bond with the revised conditions so that you can continue to work to support your family?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness.
All right. State, any questions?
Mr. Rivera, when was Ms. Settle appointed to represent you?
I think it was March the 13th, if I'm not mistaken.
And you were provided with her contact information, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so you were aware that if you had difficulties with your bond, you could contact Ms. Settle and ask her to go to the court to have that issue resolved, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you do that?
No, sir.
And that's another thing. See, he could have called his lawyer, had her as a witness into, hey, I called my lawyer, this is what I told her, and it could have been resolved in that type of manner or anything. One thing I learned about the court system is they don't have any mercy for you. They don't care about your sad face. They don't care about your remorse. They don't care about any of those things when it comes to the guidelines and the sentencing and what they can and cannot do. They can take certain things in factors, but for the most part, they got to go by their guidelines. And, you know, they look at it like, hey, you here for a reason. I got a job to do and I'm going to do my job. Now, some judges are a little bit more lenient, but I can say this for a fact that this judge is not one of them.
Nothing further.
All right, any other questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Is there any objections to Fabian Ortiz zooming in?
I have no objection, Your Honor.
Oh, she calling the probation officer.
And your testimony is that Fabian Ortiz told you you needed to get a vehicle so ignition interlock could be installed on it?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
All right, we're gonna have Mr. Ortiz zoom in. Ms. Ferguson?
Yes, ma'am.
If you could have Fabian Ortiz, he's the pretrial services officer on this case. If you could have him zoom in, please. All right, just have a seat. We're gonna get him to zoom in. All right, we're back on the record in NIGHTMAG number 754054, 754053, State of Texas versus Jesus Rivera. We have the pretrial services officer Fabian Ortiz by Zoom. Any objections to this witness appearing by Zoom? State?
None, Your Honor.
Defense?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Ortiz, could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes,
All right, you can lower your hand if you'll state your name for the record.
it's Officer Fabian Ortiz, Bear County Pretrial.
All right, defense, do you have questions?
Yes, Officer Ortiz, you were the pretrial officer, are the pretrial officer for Mr. Rivera, is that correct?
Yes,
And one of the conditions of his bond was ignition interlock.
that's correct.
Did he inform you that he does not have a vehicle?
From what I'm aware of, I believe so, yes.
Okay.
So wait a minute. Why did it take him so long to think about what what he wanted to say? He really wanted to lie. Like if you really look at him in his face, the way he looked at the screen when she asked him the question, he looked up into the sky like, do I really want to tell the truth? Like he told you he didn't have a car. Why is he being violated? That really don't make any sense to me. If I was the judge, but I'm telling you, this judge is got a whole different type of mentality. She handles things differently. I like how thorough she is, but some things I can see where people will be like she a little bit harsh on certain things. I really want to see where she takes this.
And do you remember what your response was when he told you that?
No.
That's a W for him. That is a W because you don't even remember what you told me, and I'm very concise in what I'm saying you said to me. This man, when he said that this guy told him he had to get a vehicle, that's all. Like, why would I have to get a vehicle? I can't even afford my bills and paying for my kids, and I'm catching a bus and all these different things. And you telling me I got to get a vehicle just to put a device on it? And you don't even remember saying that to me, and now I'm locked up? Like you playing with people's lives. That's crazy.
Um,
I wouldn't have to say nothing else.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
State any questions.
Officer Ortiz, are you refreshing your recollection from notes taken contemporaneously with speaking with Mr. Rivera?
Just off of my head, not my notes.
All right, thank you.
All right, Mr. Ortiz.
Yes, Judge.
Wow.
Mr. Rivera informed you that he did not have any vehicle. Did you tell him or give him any information on the steps to take to have something other than ignition interlock?
I'm gonna go ahead and check my notes on that, Judge, right now.
All right, thank you.
This dude, he the worst. He the worst. That's what some of these people have to deal with when they have to sit there and get probation, and some of these probation officers really don't care about nothing but they check every week or every 2 weeks. This is what some of these people have to deal with, and then they send them back to court, and the courts is very harsh on them people when they come back because they feel like they're giving them another chance, and it isn't fair for some of these people.
When conducting the orientation on March 6th, the defendant did inform me that the vehicle was a total loss and that it was his mother's vehicle.
All right, and so did you give him any other options for him to be monitored for alcohol use?
No.
No.
All right. So if he were released on bond, how long would it take for him to have the PAM device installed in lieu of ignition interlock?
Not that long, Judge. I can go ahead and provide him with the email with the approved vendors, and he can make an appointment to get installed with the portable breathalyzer.
All right, so if
This
if the
guy is
court requires
terrible.
him to have this installed by Friday, is that enough time for him? Or is that not reasonable?
Each vendor's different, Judge, so it would just depend on when the availability of the vendor is. I can try to make contact with the vendor that he decides and see if we can make an exception if there's availability.
He don't want to do it.
All right, thank you so much. If you'll remain on Zoom, this is what the court is going to do in each cause number. Because it appears there may have been some miscommunication.
Wow.
So, and defense, you've informed the court that the bondsman is willing to be placed back on bond.
Correct, Judge.
So on each cause number, the court will reinstate the bond. The court is going to order the PAM device in lieu of an ignition interlock. The PAM device is to be installed no later than August 12th by 3 p.m. You're going to provide an affidavit of non-driving. You're not allowed to drive at all. Do you understand? So there's to be an affidavit of non-driving. And there's to be an affidavit showing that the vehicle that was used was inoperable.
It's really terrible how messed up this system is. I understand the judge has a job to do and she has to be professional as possible, but this guy is terrible. He literally played with the defendant's life, literally. And somebody should be a little bit more outraged, and of course that he still has to go through whatever he has to go through to get through this court case, but at the same time this is terrible because this guy could easily, if this probation officer would have just lied on him, this guy would easily be sitting in jail right now without even a question. This is literally terrible.
All right. Mr. Ortiz, is there anything else that's needed for him as a condition of bond you feel he would benefit from?
No, Judge, I just want to remind you that there was the conditions of just no alcohol use and no possession of firearms, just in case that wasn't addressed right now. If that's still a current condition.
All right, all other previous conditions will remain. Of course, with the exception of ignition interlock.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, and then Mr. Rivera, I'm not the one who placed you on bond for this, so there are a few questions I have for you. How often are you drinking alcohol
I don't drink
in the
it.
past?
It was like Fridays. That was it.
All right, I'm gonna ask him to do sober support meetings.
She's putting him on more. I'm telling you, this judge right here, she is different. She's putting him on more conditions. He's back in court for something that could have been avoided had his probation officer gave him more options. Usually when you get a court-appointed attorney, they're done with you after the court date. Like after the court case is over or whatever, usually they're done with you. I can see that he probably thought in his head like, well, maybe I can't call her, but he should have gave it a try. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, his probation officer could have gave him options instead of telling him, well, you need to get a vehicle so you can put the device on your car. I'm telling you, I'm catching a bus. So I'm going to get even more punished with more conditions and taking time away from not only my kids. Like I'm going to work, I'm catching a bus, so it's taking me longer to get back and forth to work. Now I got to go to meetings, which maybe he do need, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's like I can have all these different things. I shouldn't be getting more punished for something that I necessarily didn't create off of just this and solitude situation.
And we're gonna do 60 and 60 days. All right, is there anything else from either side?
Nothing to stay here on.
Nothing from the defense, Your Honor.
All right, so we're off the record and you may be excused.
Just to recall the warrant,
No, I put it in here.
Gotcha. Okay, thank
All
you.
right, so what I'm gonna want you to do, if you'll speak to Miss Ferguson, she will give you the link to this Zoom meeting. I'm gonna put Mr. Ortiz in a breakout room, and then once you zoom in, you and your client will be in the breakout room so you can coordinate the conditions that I put in place.
Yes,
Right.
Judge.
So, Mr. Ortiz, if you could remain, please, I'm gonna send you to a breakout room. And as soon as defense counsel zooms in, I will send her to the breakout room with her client as well.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, and Mr. Ortiz, any questions about what I'm requiring?
No, Judge. It's clear. Thank you.
Do you have any questions about what I'm requiring?
No, ma'am.
All right. So you all excuse, just get with Ms. Ferguson so that we can create, so that you can, I'm sorry, confer with the pretrial services officer in the breakout room.
Yes, I've got it, Judge.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Have a good day, Smith.
Thank you. Was the warrant reflected? Yes, the warrant.
Yeah, I'm happy that the guy has a great attitude about the whole situation, but I don't think the system necessarily handled everything the correct way, especially with the probation officer. In some shape or form, he should be reported and given a little bit more training on how to help the people that he's over. Because if he's over more than just this guy, imagine what he's doing to other people. I definitely wouldn't recommend him as a probation officer. Like, he need to find something else that he loves. You can see it all over his face that he don't like this job. He may need to find another career path. He's terrible to me. But that was it. Men Amongst Men. I appreciate everybody for watching. We're going to tap in with another video. We trying everything out. We just putting content up. If you guys like it, hit the like button. If you don't like it, I appreciate you for stepping in and stepping out. Appreciate it. We out.